I want to welcome everybody to the Three Esoterics. That's the Three Esoterics at the number 3 Esoterics. Did I do that well enough for you, Ben?
Perfect.
We're here with Ben. I wanted to use a middle name for you today, but I didn't want to call you Dimebag Darrell because I didn't think people would be in on the joke.
No, probably not.
And Louis Garfield, fine. As well as today's Guest-oteric, Chris Buskirk, who's editor and publisher of amgreatness.com, and you can find them at the Chris Buskirk.
The Chris. The Chris.
I did my best. You know, it's a little more difficult when people aren't around you to get to gauge them.
He's playing the role of Lance Cumpson, nephew of Jane Weinman's Angela Channing from Falcon Crest, because he broke into one of the vacated Gallo wineries and is squatting there for the plague.
Just so you know, Chris, he's referring to you. And Ben, I was trying to remember the guy from Black Sabbath, who Ronnie James.
Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, but I always wanted to be Bill Ward without the drug addiction.
So you're a Black Sabbath fan too, Chris, I take it?
From way back.
See, so both of you, I had a question for him that I wanted him to post, but he didn't post it. What music would most American greatness, who do you think most American greatness fans listen to?
And I think that's
this is a question about our readers or about the staff?
Your readers.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a funnier question about the staff.
Well, that's true.
2 staff members I know right now are Black Sabbath fans.
But the trouble with asking that question about our readers is, first of all, we have hundreds of thousands of them, and I'm not sure I want to presume to guess.
I presumed you, and I was right.
Well, because you could tell just by looking at me.
By
the cut of my jib.
You have action toys behind you. Black Sabbath isn't exactly.
Yeah, well, it looks like he raided a dollar store and somebody's, how do you say it, quinceanera or whatever that coming out ceremony is for
a quinceanera.
Yeah, it looks like he just ran through with a mouthful of cake and just took what he could and then put it next to his 25 volumes of the rise of the Third Reich.
But that couldn't happen because Ben has a court order mandating he stay at least 100 feet from all quinceañeras.
But if it's in a public park and there's other things going on, I could see him running with that wedge of cake and whatever toys he was able to just grab. That he's since washed off the icing.
Yeah, you got me.
Washed off the icing. I'm sure that's where the icing went.
Yeah.
Right.
It was eaten.
Ben Boychik's lair, or as Lewis thought, Cato.
Dr. Leo Marvin's spare bedroom in his lake house.
But one of the things that we've been one of the things actually I really wanted to talk about was because Lewis has been on this Alan Garfield kick. Okay. Now, if you hear the name Alan Garfield, he sort of sounds more famous than he recently sadly died, but he sounds more famous than he is. But he was would you say character actor, Lewis?
Wasn't a leading man.
He wasn't even a 6th leading man. He was like number 8.
But he was in some of the best films of the last 40 years.
Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Right.
Security guard number 2.
He was, I kid you not, he was in a movie. What was it?
Man at Party.
He was in a movie called Orgy 69. I'm not kidding you. This is one of Lewis's favorite actors.
Well,
was that the
he's not
69th
Michael Lerner,
installment?
He was in Nashville. He was in Citizen Cone with James Woods.
That actually was a really that I don't know if that was a good movie or James Woods was just so exceptional in it. But my point being is
Dick Tracy, Let It Ride.
Okay, my point is you can't help who you're
The
attracted to.
Conversation. He's in Teachers. My God, I saw that in the theater.
That's thanks for sharing, Lewis. But you
The Black Stallion Returns, which has nothing to do with what's the word they use? Gubaki.
Starring Vincent Spano, a young Vincent Spano.
Continental Divide with Blair Brown and John Belushi.
John Belushi. Wow, that's a good
The
movie too.
Stuntman.
Stuntman was great.
Again,
The Brinks Job.
God rest his soul. We get it. You're a big fan.
I've got a question. What?
Weather Jugs and Speed.
Hey,
Oh,
Lewis.
classic. I remember that one. I did see that in the theater.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. What did Alan Garfield ever say on screen? What is an immortal Alan
I can't
Garfield?
stop this bleeding, man.
Is that right?
In Nashville, after the singer that he manages is shot by Scott Glenn. I can't stop this bleeding, man.
I think he had more memorable lines in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah. And then they bring on the other woman because they sing, somebody do something. And she says, "It don't worry me," and that's how the film ends. And she becomes the new star. It don't worry me.
So, Chris, on our last episode, we were talking about movies that we don't want forgotten, and it also came up to the point where we wanted to talk about actors we don't want forgotten. That are we were saying Ben had an amazing point, which was that music, when we were growing up, none of us had cable. We had 3 stations. So we all saw essentially.
I had cable. By the way, he was in Bananas. He was in the Marcus Welby murders.
Thank you, Lewis. We all saw these. We all saw, and when it comes to movies and TV, it's easy. Sometimes actors get forgotten. The Jack Wardens of the world, the Martin Balsams of the world, the Alan Garfields of the world. And, so we're just they're talking about that stuff. And you can't help who you like.
Well,
go ahead, Ben.
no, just to elaborate on the point that Judah was trying to make before
Lewis interrupted me. Yes.
Popped up. The argument is that the reason why we have there's a kind of a greater sense of shared tastes in music, especially among our generation, is because of sort of the ubiquity of classic rock and things like that, and the ease of access to it. The reason why the generation, millennials and the generation now coming of age, doesn't have the same tastes in film, they haven't been exposed to so many great movies, so many great performances, is that there are too many choices now. And that with the popularity and predominance of Netflix, for example, the tendency is to binge watch programs and just stick with what's new, not what's old, what's classic. Whereas when we were growing up, and you were in LA, we had, for example, KTLA, Channel 5, the Family Film Festival on Saturday and Sunday afternoons with Tom Hatton, where they would show all these old movies, or NBC would have a movie of the week where they were usually, I remember, disaster movies like Earthquake or the Airport and the Towering Inferno, things like that.
And
the
the
Poseidon Adventure.
Exactly, right.
Adventure. But how many millennials are tuning into TCM?
Let me speak to that, because you were talking about action films. Richard Donner, when he was making Superman, there was one word that guided the production: verisimilitude. And because the tagline for the film was, "You'll believe a man can fly." And we talked about this on a previous broadcast. So when it comes to verisimilitude, and I noticed this as Ben was talking, the plastic flames shooting out of the feet of your Iron Man on the shelf, my God, they look so real. I was about to call 911 in the middle of this broadcast because I thought your Ruby Ridge compound might go up in flames. So Mattel, Hasbro, whoever's responsible for that, well done, sirs. And another point about...
Do we need unnamed producer girlfriend to start muting you?
No, I want to say something. You were mocking Alan Garfield. You know what he's in? You could exclude everything.
Why did I bring up Alan Garfield?
Exclude everything else. And the only 2 people that are going to be able to appreciate this are Chris from his wine cave and Ben from his cave. And you know what that film is?
Cave.
Right. 1969, Putney Swope.
Was that his second porno?
Robert Downey Sr.'s movie about a Madison Avenue ad agency whose new chairman of the board of directors is a black man.
It's the Mad Men prequel.
Yes. It was crazy radical for its time, and obviously you were going to see that on Channel 5 in New York when between Torah Study and Beatings, where Judah was get some reception to see if he could get a glimpse of the secular world.
Yes.
It's a great movie.
Anyways, Chris is here. Chris, name us some movies or actors you don't want forgotten.
See, I was prepared for the actresses question.
Okay, actresses.
Okay, so I thought about it a little in a slightly different context, which is somebody who actually has gotten some notoriety, but nobody knows who she is unless you watch everything. You know, they're the people who know who the Gapper was on like every movie they've ever seen. But like the person I've totally appreciated lately is Melissa Leo, and I got turned on to her from I'm Dying Up Here, which I don't know if you guys saw that show on Showtime. They only did one season of it. Do you guys know the plot line there?
I know of it. I never watched it.
I didn't hear what you said.
It's
I'm
Dying Up Here. Oh. It was a Showtime one season show, and basically it tells the story of the Comedy Store in the early 70s. And Melissa Leo plays Mitzi Shore.
Oh, wow.
And she's just fantastic. Now, I bring her up all the time because I think she absolutely killed it. There's a lot of people in that show who did great jobs. It was very well written, but it's sort of like, there's this great anecdote about like Sid Caesar's Show of Shows. You know, it's the most popular show on television in the early 60s. And I don't know if you guys know what killed it off was the Lawrence Welk Show, which was, you know, obviously
then they made a movie, My Favorite Year, with Peter O'Toole and Mark
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So Melissa Leo,
but Melissa Leo is she's won an Oscar. You know, she won, but nobody knows who she is. I think she's one of these people who is well regarded in the industry. But if you ask people who see a lot of movies, they have no idea who she is. And she started out as a soap star. She was on All My Children.
Beth Grant is very similar.
Melissa Leo is a perfect example.
Wiki, if you can, Beth Grant. She's been in probably 150 movies. She's like the Gene Hackman of actresses. She's looked like 50 since 1980.
Oh yeah. Yep. She's
kind of digging the fact that Chris has gone back to Earth with no light bulbs in his house that he broke into. But you're working off of the natural light from that bay window.
Yeah, we gotta be done quickly here because the people who live here might get home, and I gotta be out of here.
I get it. At least you could do is install some light bulbs as a gift, like a sort of a thank you. I was here, but I've left, and I didn't leave you without.
And they'll be green. They'll be LED light bulbs. I want to do the right thing here.
Melissa Leo, by the way, is a good one. I can't name you a movie she's been in, but I know her name very well.
Homicide.
The Fighter.
That's where she won the Oscar for The Fighter.
She won the Oscar, the Critics' Choice Award for Best Supporting Actress, Screen Actors Guild Award, Golden Globe, and she also won a Creative Arts Emmy for Louis, amongst other awards as well. But those are her big ones.
But the father in The Fighter, Jack McGee, is another one of those actors that's been in a ton of things, right? He was in that show Rescue 911. Or not Rescue 911, the Dennis Leary show.
Oh, Rescue Me.
Rescue Me.
Yeah. No, she's a perfect example because I loved Homicide: Life on the Street, but I haven't really followed her since then, and I got to track down that Showtime series.
Well,
track down Richard Belzer.
He was great.
He was great.
JFK conspiracy nut. I think it's kind of cool, though, that we've got Chris in the director's cut version live of The Big Short from one of those homes that was facing foreclosure that didn't make it into the theatrical release. But I think
it's in San Bernardino, someplace way out there.
No furniture, no lighting, but the bank is too busy to take it away from him.
I would love to say I know how Lewis's mind worked, but I would not know where to start.
the synapses fire in ways that
I mean, just in all
Nobody
different
can.
directions.
yeah.
I mean, there's no way I'm the only one. Chris, come on. I take it you've been to Ruby Ridge to visit Ben in person at least once. What's with the? It depending
Don't
on the
tell
day.
Janet Reno.
Right. What's with the 19 leather-bound Latin American constitutions on that shelf?
He's an enthusiast. What can I say? Everybody collects something.
That's the Oxford English.
Okay, so there you go. You can't help what you're attracted to. Ben's obviously attracted to collecting Marvel action figures,
And Latin American constitutions.
Yes.
Panama hats, and
Luggage
and that monkey that was hanging the other day.
and a
there we
gorilla
go.
mask.
Can you show Chris what you have hanging in?
It's a monkey
Yeah,
on a banana swing.
but I was saying,
Well, sure. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
you can't help that you actors. I mean, I was talking. Lewis was making. Lewis loves jazz. I can't stand jazz.
I don't believe that. I've actually had this conversation, and I don't think anybody loves jazz. I think there are people who say they love jazz.
I agree with you because I usually think most men will say it to get laid. But Lewis is
There's
married.
no woman I've ever met that was like, you know what? You had me at jazz.
No, but I used to notice when I was on Tinder profiles, pre-producer girlfriend or Bumble profiles, that all women would tend to like the jazz thing. You know,
Bumble for women.
That's
Bumble?
where we met.
Bumble.
We met on Bumble.
Yes,
Wow.
we are a
Was
Bumble.
Judah in the midst of transitioning, and that's how he got you interested?
That's and Lewis. Both of us share that in common. Both of us are transitioning, and
Yes.
and are married or dating somebody that for no reason are attracted to.
I'm transitioning to someone that will die in a police chokehold.
Okay, so thank you, Chris. So you like you don't get jazz either.
Not even a little. I feel about jazz the way I feel about golf. I tried it. I wanted to like it, and it didn't take.
Thank you so much. You are a friend forever.
I love both
Ben?
a lot.
Ben?
No interest in golf.
Well, I concur in part and dissent in part. I like jazz. I like older jazz. I like early bebop, but I can't stand golf.
Early bebop?
Yeah, like 1950s, like Dizzy Gillespie, like, you know.
Where'd you pull that one out of?
What?
Is that in a drawer over there? Early
We
bebop?
agreed that those props are empty.
Right, those drawers don't even open.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so here's my other thing. Chris, I can't stand art. I'm not big into art, right?
I mean, it sounds like you're incredibly cultured.
In
Yeah,
which we confess our philistinism. This is
No. But you can't help that you're not. I've tried to like it. The only art I like, because I understand it, is Andy Warhol.
No, that's great. Next, why don't you tell us about Sex and Pizza?
Nope, not those either.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan.
No, I
Tried it once.
think most men
Tried it once in the
generally
butt, and I didn't like it.
I think most men generally lie and say they like certain things that they don't.
Like
to
gay
impress
sex.
somebody else, which is
First of all-
the point.
Sorry.
I don't like art. I don't like music.
As the woman of this, I might actually agree with that. Like,
Producer girlfriend, let me tell you something. You're blessed.
What would you agree with?
that men say things just to get laid.
Oh, well,
What's
that's
art? You just came to this realization?
Hold up a
No,
second.
no,
I'm gonna
no,
get a
no.
pen because I want to write that down. I need to look into this further.
Yeah.
No, but
Next
No, but
person,
I could certainly
1,000 years old.
I could probably think of something that Judah said that he liked early on in dating, just to
I'm scared
woo
that-
me in.
I'm
Yeah,
open.
what? Elton
I'm
John?
open-minded.
I love Elton John.
Yeah, he said he loves Elton John. That's
better than
exactly
Billy
it.
Joel.
And he said that it was better than Billy Joel. That's exactly what he
And
said.
that he was
early on.
Chicagoan at heart. I've never been to the city, but I just always felt a connection.
Especially after Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go on. What did I lie about?
Oh, I can't think of something off the top of my head. I'm just saying I'm sure there was.
I said I was open-minded.
Yeah, and you are open-minded.
but-
Actually, you are.
Open-minded, but you make a blanket statement. You're talking about literally millions,
I'm from Brooklyn.
tens of thousands of years
Yeah.
of art.
I just don't.
I just don't like. I don't get it.
You know what I don't like? Films in black and white.
It's not that, Ben. I mean, I want to like it. You could bring me to a museum. I love Griffith Park, the observatory in Los Angeles, right? I love the art of it, right? I love how it's built. I love the planetarium. But if there was a painting inside, wouldn't get it. Just not my gig. Sue me.
Sure. Let me
Why
get
the walls in this place are so well decorated.
Hey, let me tell you something. If I didn't live with a girl, my house would be bare. When we moved, it took her 6 weeks. It took me like 10 hours.
Well, there's no way those books are yours.
Well, there's one book that's
No,
mine.
there's 4.
We talked
There's
about
4.
that Faith Prayer.
Let's give them credit. There's 4. Yeah.
3 of which were written by the guy he works with.
No. Those are mine.
Oh.
Those were a gift to me. So there are 4 others.
So you didn't even have to buy them. You went into the guy's garage.
Anyways, I want to get back to this because Chris had in mind, and Chris was talking about women in film, Melissa Leo, anyone else?
I have an actor.
Wait. What else you got, Chris?
That was. I shot my silver bullet. Right, that was it.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one, though.
That's good.
And we can forget the rest of them, but Melissa Leo, we got to remember her.
And that was when the illegal cable hookup died. I'm dying up here. Great show. I didn't see anything else. They cut off the cable.
That's it. I haven't. It's
sent
actually
a
the only
bullet.
show I've ever seen.
That's what the cable companies used to do. If you had illegal cable, they'd send a bullet, and all of a sudden, boom, the TV would go black.
No, but Lewis, there's something about Alan Garfield that you like. Maybe you like the underdog. You like the guy that,
No, I just like that. I'm sad that he died, and he happens to have been in some movies I really like The Candidate, Nashville, and your favorite, Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah, and Delta Force. He wasn't in Delta Force, but let's say he was.
Yeah.
And
Michael Lerner is the one I like a lot more.
yeah.
Better than Garfield?
Yes.
Wow.
So on an island, Garfield, Michael Lerner.
Going with Michael Lerner.
We said in the previous episode, I think it was the one that made it, that people like Michael Lerner, but they can't think of anything he's been in.
He's been in everything.
He's been in everything, but he's been in one of the greatest movies of all time, which is, of course, Barton Fink.
Okay, what's your favorite Coen brother movie? See, that's why I thought about this thing, because my favorite movie of theirs is the one that people forget the most, which is one of your favorite actors, Ben, which is Miller's Crossing.
Oh, I love Miller's Crossing.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, because the opening scene with John Polito.
Yeah.
Ethics.
But it doesn't get the Big Lebowski, the Big Lebowski or Fargo.
I like Barton Fink best of all.
Fargo does nothing for me.
Yeah, Fargo was good. But I love Barton Fink. I love probably because there's that wonderful scene with Tony Shalhoub, and
One of my favorite actors.
Yeah, and he's shocked to discover that Barton Fink, played by John Turturro, has made no progress on this wrestling picture script he's supposed to write. And he said, well, what should I do? He said, go talk to another writer. Well, where should I do that? We'll go down to the commissary. Go down to the commissary. You throw a rock in the place and you'll hit one. And do me a favor, Fink, throw it hard.
He's John Mahoney. He's supposed to be Faulkner.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
God rest his soul too. We don't want to talk about dead actors today, Lord.
Right.
Just their careers.
Throw it hard. Anyway.
And so Miller's Crossing
is great. It has a great line, look into your heart. What heart?
So Ben, you came to the show with one woman.
Me?
No, Chris.
Chris did. Chris came to the show.
I'm a one-woman man. What can I say?
That's true.
But as long as we're on the Coen brothers, I want to throw in a plug for No Country for Old Men. I think that's.
I was about to say that.
My producer girlfriend.
Yeah, that's a great movie. That's probably their best movie.
It's great.
It's the one that's most rewatchable, even more than like Fargo, I think.
Now, I
think there's more there.
I haven't seen the entire oeuvre, but John Goodman is just incredible. Not only is he incredible in Barton Fink, but
he's incredible in The Big Lebowski.
Yeah,
True.
he is John Milius. That's who he's playing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows, if you haven't seen the documentary, watch that documentary. There is no better documentary other than the Rush documentary, Beyond the Lighted Stage. Oh, and the one Battered Bastards of Baseball, than the John Milius documentary. Amazing.
What's it called? I haven't seen it.
Milius.
It's just called Milius.
The best documentary I've ever seen is Los Angeles Plays Itself. Hands down.
I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with
No,
that.
we know we know.
Yeah. I want to tell you something interesting though, because Chris, the whole point of this is no politics allowed. And I've been listening to a lot of people talk outside. My neighbors, I just moved in, and I heard them talking about. I guess there's like this ESPN special about the Bulls from the '90s going on.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Right. And I sort of heard them arguing over this this Bulls documentary going on. And I do think we're at a point where people are a little tired of arguing, how could you argue politics? There's nobody in Washington.
I guess Twitter shut down.
If only.
Yeah. But I mean, you're big. You guys are way bigger on Twitter. Has the political stuff toned down a little bit on Twitter?
No.
For Facebook, whatever.
I don't go on the Facebook, but on the Twitter.
Did you just call it the Facebook?
Is that not what it's called?
Yeah, it was in like about 2002.
Yeah, that was the last time I was familiar with the Facebook's
the
little project.
Housemaster at Harvard, where Zuck was.
I spend most of my time on MySpace.
Yeah,
I just think,
or Friendster.
I feel like it's gonna come back.
You got a lot of Indonesian friends on Friendster.
I got to tell you something about MySpace, by the way. MySpace rocked. Okay.
It was such garbage.
You could put a song to your day. You could add music you liked. It was, you could put your top 10 friends. If you stopped being friends with one, you minus them out.
And 15 hours later, when the site would fully load, it was quite an experience. It was garbage.
No, but I'm curious. Since
But
you're
it launched the career of Dane Cook, so for that we can never forgive it.
Somebody we hope to forget.
I see Chris on Google Plus.
He's somebody that shouldn't be remembered. That's like a whole other list of people. People that came in time.
People we're trying to forget.
Like Tom Green.
Oh, that's a good
Freddie got fingered.
The Rip Torn. It's the Rip Torn rule. If he's in something, it's still good.
Money was put at, checks were written for this.
Okay, so people we want forgotten that came and went. We got, what's his name? Dane Cook, Tom
Kevin
Green.
Smith.
Who?
Kevin Smith.
Oh, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. That's a universal. Ben.
I'm searching for a name and I can't remember it. I'm completely blanking.
Well, bands are easy, right? You had a lot
No,
of.
I'm thinking of who was the guy who wrote.
That really helps us limit.
Yeah,
it.
Striptease.
Oh.
The movie?
The book is by Carl Hyacin.
You mean Showgirls or
Showgirls?
Joe Esterhaus? Joe Esterhaus is
Joe
amazing.
Esterhaus wrote one of the best movies of all time, man.
Which was
And his book, American Rhapsody, he gives Bill Clinton's weenus a name.
I think I'm wrong. I can't remember. Verhoeven wrote RoboCop, not Joe Esterhaus.
Yeah, Esterhaus wrote.
Fist.
Didn't he write?
Which is not a gay movie.
He wrote what?
Fist.
Oh,
With Sylvester Stallone.
yeah.
He wrote Basic Instinct.
That's what I was going.
Yeah,
for.
he wrote-
That would be
He wrote
Fist.
Music
Fist would be a
Box.
great name for a biopic about Foucault.
Fist?
Yeah.
So that's who you came up with. So we have the guy that wrote Striptease, Joe Esterhaus. We have Tom Green.
Showgirls.
We have Dane Cook. Pretty much most bands from the '90s, one-hit wonders from the '90s.
Yeah,
we
I can't
throw in Janine
remember.
Garofalo?
Oh, thank God. That's a great one. May nobody remember Janine Garofalo.
To quote Jeff Ross at a roast of Jerry Stiller, he said, your most recent film premiere was at a Blockbuster. You're allowed to turn stuff down.
But she was actually, I mean, she
He was
contributed
on Larry Sanders.
to the Larry Sanders Show, right? One of our favorite shows, and Rip Torn. And Chris, you could help. So let me ask you guys this question because I'm curious about it. So neither of you, these two guys can't stand Bruce Springsteen. Neither can produce a girlfriend. Where do you rest with Bruce Springsteen?
I am very sympathetic to that point of view, but I like The River.
Great song.
Shoot me.
Great song.
But the rest of it could just go away.
Okay, so now I'm curious. Dylan or no?
No. I'm a big fat no. I don't get it.
Dylan, some.
Lewis?
Blood on the tracks.
Some.
But part of the greatest band of all time.
He was never in Led Zeppelin.
Traveling Wilburys. That's true. The greatest band other than those bands.
Super.
Right.
Super.
The Traveling Wilburys.
Who was it?
Legend.
All the Wilburys.
Okay.
Tom Petty,
Roy
Roy Orbison,
George Harrison, Tom Petty, Dylan, Jeff Lynne from ELO.
How'd he get in?
Supergroup. I know, he's like the guy you have to say, Jeff Lynne from ELO. And other bands.
He must have been super tight with one of the other Wilburys. They're just
No,
like, let Jeff in.
He was the original Wilbury.
Oh, it was his idea.
It was him and George Harrison. They needed an extra. I mean, and this is a really cool story. They needed a song for George Harrison's new album that was coming out. So they were in LA. So they called up. I think they called up Dylan and they said, "Hey, could we use your studio tomorrow?" So Dylan said, "Sure." All their equipment, and Roy Orbison was having dinner too. And Jeff Lynne's like, "Well, we can't like leave him out of leave Roy Orbison out." So they call Tom Petty up and they say, "Can we borrow some guitars?" So they go to Petty's house and Petty goes, "What are you guys up to?" And they go, "Well, we're going to do this." And he goes, "Can I join?" And they get to Dylan's studio and they need a single and they see a box on the floor that says handle with care. And
the rest, as they say, is history.
And that's what happened. And then they sent it to the studios, and the studio said, this can't be like a B-side. This is just an incredible song.
Speaking of Dylan, I haven't seen Llewellyn Davis, going back to the Coen brothers. And I love Isaac. Was it Isaac Davis?
Oscar. Is it Oscar Isaac?
Isaac Oscar. Who is
Oscar Isaac.
Jewish, who is not Jewish. Oscar Isaac.
Wasn't he in a movie last year where he was a Jew?
Who? Oscar Isaac?
Yeah.
No. He comes from a very religious Christian family, but with a name like Oscar Isaac and with his looks, I mean, you want to pick up a rock.
I thought F. Murray Abraham was Jewish.
No. He's Lebanese.
This is people you think are Jewish that aren't. People that have had to face anti-Semitism undeservingly. Ben Boychuk.
He plays an Abby Hoffman-like character in the Richard Dreyfuss movie that's the film adaptation of that Pajamas Media prick, because he wouldn't shake my hand. That guy's an ass. His detective book. That's how well I know this guy.
Roger Simon.
Right, his book.
I have no idea who you're talking about. You want to?
He wrote a book. He wrote a series of novels about this detective. They made one movie out of it, and it's got Richard Dreyfuss, who plays a private eye, and he keeps a pencil in the inside his gun, and he goes with his kids to looking for this Abby. It's supposed to be Abby Hoffman, but he's played by F. Murray Abraham, who's dropped out of society, and
this is the most press F. Murray Abraham has gotten since Amadeus.
When Pajama Media's launched, the late Kathy Sipe told me, "What kind of name is Pajamas Media? They want me to write for them. I can't write for a place called Pajamas Media." And there was a clip before he switched.
Does anybody know what Lewis is talking about?
Before he switched,
a little bit, yeah.
Somebody rushed Ron Silver like Jack Ruby at the Dallas Police Department. Went up to Ron Silver and said, "I'm with Pajamas Media. I want to interview you." He said, and Ron Silver, he hadn't switched yet. He laughed. He went, "Ha! You hear this? Tell them your name. Pajamas Media. They want to interview me." Only Chris and Ben will get that.
Yeah.
You totally lost me, but you did bring up a great actor who passed away. Hopefully, won't be forgotten.
Ron Silver,
Ron
whose voice I heard last night when I was watching a clip from The Sopranos of Paulie during the lawn wars against Feach. He's listening to Sun Tzu, book on tape, narrated by who? Ron Silver, who does not get a screen credit, but I went to Amazon, looked it up. He is one of the narrators to Sun Tzu's Art of War. And Ron Silver, very learned man, was also fluent in Chinese.
Who portrayed the lawyer who went to the same high school with me as myself.
Midwood?
No, Dershowitz.
That's right, Reversal of Fortune.
Yeah, Dershowitz.
Ron Silver was the Hollywood Jew. They said, we need someone that looks like a herring salesman for this
Really?
700 Club straight-to-video film about the Antichrist.
Ron Silver more
Is he
than
available? Is he available? Get Michael York, and get us Ron Silver to play the Antichrist. But make sure he's dripping with herring.
You Martin Balsam way more than Ron Silver as the go-to Jew.
Ron Silver.
Martin died. When did Balsam die?
A while ago.
Well, we know, yeah. I mean, but you know what's odd? Everybody that we thought is dead is like still 95, like Cloris Leachman. Still living, 93 years old.
I was surprised to discover just a moment ago that F. Murray Abraham is still alive.
No, he's still around. He played the merchant. He even played Shylock.
Well, I know. He was in the Grand Budapest Hotel, which I had forgotten all about. So.
Well, listen. After Amadeus, it's hard.
But he won the Oscar. That's why he stayed working forever.
And the other guys, it never worked again, pretty much.
Tom Hulse.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Hulse is doing wedding videos. And his business has been severely impacted because of the Jew virus.
And oh my God, Chris, other things you to avoid thinking about. And do you have regular TV, or do you have?
Does it look like he has regular TV in this house he broke into?
I don't know. I haven't looked around
He
this
hasn't
house
even
yet,
been
but
to
I'll
all the rooms.
When you look around this house, because I'm curious, because Lewis doesn't have regular TV, so he's not seeing these promos I'm seeing on regular TV. I've been
Do
watching.
you mean like cable?
No.
When you say regular TV, you mean do I have
cable,
like a
cable?
Yeah, no, I don't have it.
Yeah, no. Judah's still getting commercials for the money store.
With Phil Rizzuto.
Yeah. I got to call them. I want a refi.
Just so you know, I was thinking about Phil Rizzuto earlier in the day, so thank you.
Yeah, he's getting ready to play shortstop again.
Anytime the Scooter's name is mentioned, longest Hall of Fame speech of all time.
Yeah, because he shouldn't have been in the Hall of
It
Fame.
had to be an
Long.
hour and 15 minutes. You know how
Based
good?
on statistics, absolutely not.
You know how
Sweet
cool my
man,
producer
and I'm a
girlfriend
Mets
is?
fan. but-
She actually watched it with me. She watched with me Phil Rizzuto's Hall of Fame speech, and if you want a great one, is Bob Uecker.
I'm going to throw out a film that only guaranteed Ben will know, Chris might know, not a chance with Judah.
Because I'm not.
Here's a movie, and and he won the Oscar. Harry and Tonto. Great movie.
Don't know it.
Chris, you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do. Hold on. I want to say yes, but I'm gonna Google to make sure it's the movie I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Ben was
go
on.
into the TV room with that family whose house you broke into and see if they have it on DVD.
Producer girlfriend, are you familiar with this movie?
I'm not.
It's
she
a
went to film.
gem.
She went to film school.
With Art Carney.
He won the Oscar.
He
Huh.
did?
That's
Yes.
Wow.
And he beat out serious competition that year.
And how did we leave him out, Ben, with the Taking It Pelham 1, 2, 3?
Because he's not in it.
He's not in it.
I
That's
thought
why
they
we
had
left
Art
him.
Carney to the people we can forget.
That's. Oh, you're not an Art Carney guy?
No.
Oh,
Sorry.
his other great film, which they never should have remade, Going in Style. George Burns, Lee Strasberg.
Saw it at the theater.
So you're not a fan of.
And there's a Mrs. Fine in the movie. George Burns is crossing the street. He says, "How are you, Mrs. Fine?" That's it. You don't even see her.
So Chris, you're not a fan of The Honeymooners.
No, actually, I'm not. It just that was the beginning of really bad sitcoms. Like, there are good ones from the era. That wasn't it. I thought Jackie Gleason was overrated.
What about Get Smart?
Please, I could watch Get Smart 24/7 and never get tired of it.
Okay, Chris, I just got done binge watching Bosch. Any new recommendations, Chris?
What did you just get done watching?
Season 6 of Bosch.
Oh, a Bosch. Yeah, let's see. Well, Ozark's good.
Ozark's great. By the way, what's the Wi-Fi password at that house you broke into?
It's the phone number.
That person's on the floor. It's why he keeps moving.
Yeah.
He hasn't gotten the passcode yet.
Yeah.
I know we're not supposed to talk about politics, but I just started. I'm 3 episodes into Waco.
That's not politics as far as current day. That's
Supposed
like
to be very good. Actually, and as a matter of fact, oh no, there's somebody else. I have a friend, my friend's partner, husband. He worked on it.
Oh,
It's great.
okay. Actually, I do have a recommendation. It's on. It's a documentary on crime called Sea Gypsy, and it's like maybe 2 hours, but it follows this crazy German guy who built a sailboat that he's been sailing around the world for like 20 years, and he takes on these sea gypsies who will come for a month, a year, some people he can't get rid of. And they basically sail from, I think it's New Zealand to Antarctica and then to Patagonia. And
By the way,
I watched it twice.
We have to piece this all together for a dating game episode because we've got Judah, who I don't like music and I don't like art. Then we got you, Sea Gypsy. Great show. You got to see Sea Gypsy. It really changed my life.
I watched it twice. In fact, I'm just packing up to go to see now.
Right. And you got Ben, who raided a kid's birthday party, and he's got toys and a bunch of Latin American constitutions that he can't read because he's not bilingual. So.
And you, who looks like he's in a padded room.
Right. So this is a perfect dating game.
Floor at Bellevue.
This is a great dating game episode. You know, contestant number 1, do you like art? No.
I think it's the Hollywood Squares.
Yeah.
We just need Paul Lind in the center square.
That's old school Hollywood Squares.
With Peter Marshall.
The good one.
When I grew up, it was watching John Davidson host.
I'd kill for John Davidson's hair and Shadow Stevens' voice.
Okay, you know that brings up, by the way. Oh my God, games.
That's incredible.
Forgotten. You know what? There were some when we were younger. Game show hosts were as big as actors in many ways.
We talked about this when Richard
And
Dawson.
they were better.
No, we didn't talk about this. We spoke about it on the
Family
phone.
Feud.
Richard Dawson.
Remember when he would date rape the women when he'd introduce them from a family?
It's called Bidening them.
But he was class. He had like a Kojak lollipop he'd take out of his mouth and just tongue some matriarch, and he'd work his way down, groping women.
No, what I loved about him was he didn't care what they looked like.
Not even a little.
It could be a family of 500-pound women, and he would kiss.
And he would just, and he didn't, no, he was totally uninhibited. He'd just zip, and he'd be like, "Kiss it, baby." And I had a friend, this is when, after Dawson, the guy that hanged himself.
Ray Combs.
Right.
Roy Combs, yeah, something like that.
So, you remember how the relatives would come on stage when the family won? So my friend is there in the studio audience with her friend, and she storms the stage, and she's hugging people, kissing them, and all of a sudden on the over the PA, frauds, and security is chasing my friend and her friend around the stage because they realized they're not related. They just got on stage and they're hugging everybody, and nobody knows who they are. So
sort of like
we asked 100 people, name a Gentile with a beard who looks like a Jew.
By the way, he was amazing in Running Man. He was.
Show me Richard Pryor.
he was great in Running Man.
He's amazing.
Wasn't he an
Vivian, I'll be back.
Was
Yeah,
Only in a rerun.
What?
He was on Hogan's Heroes.
He was on
Hogan's
Hogan's
Heroes,
Heroes.
And Match Game. Go blank yourself.
Well, Johnny Carson was also, wasn't he a game show host?
He was.
Was he?
I
He had
am
something.
So positive Johnny Carson was a game show host.
And speaking of hosts,
I think
nobody.
everybody was on in those days. I mean, Steve Martin was a guest on the dating game. Not a guest, but one of the contestants on the dating game.
So it was Tom Selleck. He lost twice.
I mean, if it wasn't for my producer girlfriend, I would never have known that Meghan Markle was one of the suitcase girls on Deal or No Deal.
Oh, I didn't know
was.
that either. Wow.
Yeah, she was like she was a front row girl. You can look her up.
Remember Card Sharks?
Oh, well,
Oh,
whoa,
yeah.
how the mighty have fallen.
So I take it none of you guys have watched The Queen.
I've seen it.
No.
My wife watches it. I think
That's
it's clever.
why you watched.
But Lithgow is not Churchill.
Can I ask you a
Lithgow
question?
is not Churchill.
Chris, are you married?
Yeah.
How do you?
Yeah, you see the wedding photo in the back?
How do you decide who watches what? Who makes the major choice, major decision?
Oh, this was part of the original marriage settlement and vows. I have control of the remote.
I like that. Lewis obviously doesn't.
I don't.
We knew that.
Because if I did, I would have watched all of Breaking Bad.
Well, you should have time to watch it now.
Yes, true.
So here's my question, by the way. And I was asking this the other day. I was talking about this the other day. There's nothing light on TV anymore. When we were growing up, we're talking about light stuff. I don't know how old you are, Chris. I'm a kid from the 80s. So I grew up in a Stephen J. Cannell period. We had Family Ties. We had cheap movies. There was a lightness and a seriousness at the same time, right? It was like competition on TV between NBC Hill Street Blues with Bochco and Milch, and then you had the comedies. Now it's just darkness.
It's that way in the movies too.
Yeah,
we talk about this all the time here. It's like my big guilty pleasure is every like teenage high school movie, like starting with like Porky's and American Pie and Superbad and like that whole genre. That genre is almost dead because now it's all about how, you know, at 15 I've had like 9 abortions. I've been married twice, and my parents are doing God knows what. And, you know, it's like I look at this and I'm like, I hope that's not what real life is like. It's horrible. Can we just go back to watching the
John Hughes?
It doesn't even have to be that. It could just be the Superbad. It's like, hey, we're going to go and try and get beer and girls.
Chigga, chigga, chigga. What?
There is no.
Your name's McLovin. What are you, an Irish R&B singer?
Yeah, you know what's really funny is no matter what if whoever's in a movie that has glasses that becomes popular, that's who people tell me I start to look like. So after Superbad, I started getting McLovin. Okay, it doesn't matter who it is, and he's not even Jewish, but I think people think he is. I think maybe he's.
And the American Pie kid who was popular for a while.
Yeah.
Which
What's
one?
his name?
With the curly hair.
Oh, Jason Biggs. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I get any Jew of the moment.
And Biggs isn't Jewish.
You remind me of that guy. It could be Seinfeld. It could be David Brenner for his one moment. It could be Jonathan Silverman. Remember him?
Oh my God. Father's a rabbi.
All the time. My producer girlfriend, her family, Jeff Goldblum.
Sammy Davis Jr.
There is no way people confuse you with Goldblum.
When I have producer girlfriend, when I have my Jew fro growing.
Yeah.
I told you there's one person. You know who he is? He's Marvin Hamlish.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take Hamlish or Burt Bacharach any day.
There is no way you're Bacharach.
I'll go old school on you.
You're Marvin Hamlish, but you're like a washed up Marvin Hamlish at the Concord in the Catskills after it's closed and they're about to burn it down, controlled burn, and you're at a grand piano.
But see, that goes to Chris, going to your point too. Dirty Dancing, right? Took you to a time. I grew up. Lewis. I never know how old you are because you won't tell me. But we're from that area where we still were able to go to those places. You know, so I was a 4-year-old kid going to Grossinger's, and I think that movie was filmed about Grossinger's or the Concord or one of those things. And it's like, you know, you watch Dirty Dancing, and it's one of my producer girlfriend's favorite movies to watch with her mother. Do they even make this stuff anymore? And I mean,
let me tell you the best film Jerry Orbach was ever in. FX.
Oh, Brian Dennehy and
Brian Brown.
Brian Brown.
Yeah, that's good.
Film is great.
You see now,
and here's a guy who was Jewish with the ultimate waspy name. Can't even remember it now. He was the guy who played the head of the FBI office. He said, Mason Adams, my office, 1 hour.
This is going to have to be a two-parter.
He was on Lou Grant.
We're going to have to do this in a two-parter because
Find me a Jew named Mason Adams.
on this stuff, because Chris, I actually am interested in your take, and Ben too, about that we grew up in a time, there are no Get Smarts anymore. There's nothing of levity. You're right. I think everything is that, even the Disney Channel, right? Or the ABC Family, wasn't there a show about abortion, My So-Called, or
My So-Called Life?
Or no, not My So-Called Life, but something. There was
My desk, 1 hour. That's what he says.
No, but there's a certain producer girl. I mean, there's no more Stephen J. Cannells of the world.
Let alone John Hughes.
Let alone John Hughes. I mean, Judd Apatow, they were trying to make him into a John Hughes. Same thing with the guy that you don't like, Ben, Royal Tenenbaums. Meet the Tenenbaums.
Wes Anderson.
Cameron Crowe.
Yeah, I don't like Cameron Crowe.
That's my point. But Cameron Crowe, there were a lot of guys that were trying to take the mantle from John Hughes, that none of them survived. They all had 3 or 4 movies. John Hughes, the fact that he was never nominated for an Oscar is one of the biggest atrocities to film.
Think about the movies he made. I mean, those are classic movies that you'll want to watch in 20 years or in 30 years. Or
in 100 years, they'll be watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was one time at this place, I see Judd Nelson, and I walk up to him and I said to him, I go, no matter what you ever will do, in 100 years, they'll be watching a movie you were in. And
did he actually have the cigarette burns on his forearm? Because that's what happens in his house when you spill a can of paint in the garage.
Yeah. It's gonna be 2 hits: me hitting you, you hitting the floor. And I mean, they were just incredible. I mean, and I almost do feel bad for kids these days, because they don't have. I think they live in too much reality. I think there's just way too much reality for people.
Yeah, that was a good way to end it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just saying there's just too much reality.
Yeah, it's the same thing with comedy. The state of comedy is pretty poor also.
Oh, it's terrible.
Right? It's not funny. It's all just sort of bitter, sarcastic snark.
Yeah, and you know what amazes me too is that Louis C.K., who, I'm a big advocate, I want to buy his special. It's on louisck.com or whatever it is, because nobody else will have the guts to put him on. His donation to a certain party was sent back. And I was like, don't you get it, man? The people that you're donating to are the people that are eviscerating you.
I'm going to give you an actor, Saul Rubinek.
Oh, great actor. One of my favorite actors, born in
Berlin.
He was born in an internment camp.
Oh, I did not know that.
Do you guys not know who Saul Rubinek is?
No.
You've seen him. He was in
True Romance. He was in a campy.
I treated you like a son.
He was wasn't he in Radio Days or one of those movies?
Do you remember the role? Do you remember the role he played in Wall Street?
No, I don't.
He worked for Gordon Gekko. He was
the kid throws the strawberry at his cheek.
He's a traitor.
Comes
in and does one of
Josh
these.
Mostel, the Terminator.
I got to rewatch it.
Oh, you're right. I am confusing it with the Terminator. That's right.
You just got Wall Street and the Terminator confused?
No,
that's
Josh
what the character's
Mostel
called.
plays a traitor that Michael Douglas calls the Terminator.
Oh. Ben, I was going to say he beat you if you got confused between Wall Street and the Terminator. Beat the Tenenbaums and the Royal Fockers, but no.
Meet the Fockers.
And on that note, I could go on in that all day long, and I don't think it makes us sounding old saying certain things were better. I think the 80s were probably the best time for teenagers or children as far as film or movies go.
Agreed.
And
that's an easy one.
What?
That's an easy one. That's definitely true.
I mean, think about it. You had it all, ranging from the John Hughes to
the Milius.
To Milius, do you say Milius with Red Dawn?
Red Dawn.
Classic, yeah.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I was watching this British special. It was actually in the documentary, I believe, where Britain was blaming Milius for thinking like he could get us into war with that movie. Like they were saying this is like American, and I don't know Lewis, was it you that didn't like Red Dawn?
I saw it. in the theater with my father on a Sunday at the
Oh my God.
Don't ever say that again.
No, it wasn't. It was a friend of a certain person, and he who believes, I kid you not, that that aliens have set up on the dark side of the moon, right? Restaurants. Producer girlfriend, am I telling this story correctly?
This is correct.
And I say to him, I love Red Dawn. And he said, it's so unrealistic. I kid you not. A Hollywood director that's directed some really good stuff tells me Red Dawn is unrealistic, but that there's a Burger King and a McDonald's on the dark side of the moon. Totally plausible. And
my desk, 1 hour.
And that's when I realized, by the way, conspiracy theorists, you could never, conspiracy theorists, you can't debate them. You can't argue with them because they have an answer for everything.
Right, because they obsess on it.
Yeah.
Right, they get OCD with the conspiracy theories, and they think through all of these possible counter arguments.
And plus, if you can't prove it, what is it, that line? You can't disprove a negative, or you can't prove a...
You can't prove a negative.
Sorry, Ben?
You can't prove a negative.
You can't prove a negative. That's how every conspiracy theory is built on. You can't prove a negative.
And they're very, very into art and jazz.
Okay. Chris is with me on the jazz, not the art that's in that house that he's about to take. And Lewis, thank you for your Falcon Crest throwback.
Yeah.
It's that was a good one with Robert Foxworth, I think.
Yeah, he was Robert. Yeah, he was on it. He was married to Elizabeth Montgomery from Bewitched. My desk, 1 hour.
And Jane Wyman. Ben, give us your final thoughts.
I can't wait to see the playback of this thing, but I only regret that I didn't cry nearly as much this time.
What can make you cry more? Lewis, can you give him 30 seconds to please make him cry?
No, we don't have that kind of time. It's too late.
Chris,
I want
to give you something to binge. Chris, I want to give you something to binge. Ricky Gervais, have you seen his show?
No.
Afterlife?
No.
Are you a Gervais fan?
Yeah.
He saw Sea Gypsy. Haven't we established this?
I've seen it twice.
Of course you did.
It's worth watching.
I'll download it, I'll throw it in my sea bag, and when I'm in my bunk swinging out on the high seas with the Sea Gypsies, I'll watch it.
So Chris, watch Afterlife.
He's got 4 Duracell AA's and a Sony Watchman. So he's set.
Your girlfriend will agree. Have you seen An Idiot Abroad?
Me? No.
Watch An Idiot Abroad or buy it on iTunes. It's Ricky Gervais, and he sends somebody named Carl Pilkington around. Like, his first season is Ben, you've seen it?
Yeah.
Worth seeing, right?
It's very much worth seeing. Yeah.
And Lewis looks a little bit like Carl Pilkington.
No, he doesn't.
A little bit.
Maybe a little.
My desk.
Okay, Google, please. One of you Google right now Carl Pilkington. And if you don't think Lewis looks like Carl Pilkington a little bit right now.
I'll look it up, but I got to go.
Okay, I know you got to go. Chris, anything?
Carl Pilkington, yeah. Dead Ringer, same guy. I've noticed one thing. I've never seen Lewis and Carl Pilkington at the same place at the same time. That's all I'm saying.
And Chris, I really want to thank you. Chris,
my pleasure.
Is the editor and publisher of amgreatness.com. I beg everybody to go, and it's one of the, you and Ben put up it's one of the best. You'll find some of the best writers there.
One of the best?
You'll pen many
the
of the best. What did I say? Some.
I think you were going to say one of the best sites, but I was thinking the best.
It is the best site. It is.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
In my humble opinion, it's taken over all the sites. Yep. It has. As far as fair and balanced and everything in between, it's I love reading it. I love the writers, and I want to wish you a great weekend wherever you are, who's ever home you have taken over. And
my desk, 1 hour.
Ben, I want to say thank you, and tell Mark Furman we say hello.
I'll send my very best regards. Thank you.
Point, Idaho.
Yeah.
And anyways, everybody, I just want to say, listen, go to the 3 Esoterics. Ben, spell it out for me.
numeral 3 ESOTERICS on twitter.com.
Oh, I love that voice. And we will talk to you all later. Chris, if you could, and we'll be on iTunes, by the way. And Ben Boychuk, you have the link. And we're going to edit a lot of this, by the way. So, Chris, I just want to talk to you for a quick second. Louis, you could go.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye, Lois.
Bye.